great city of Saint Petersburg, Russia is very famous for its significant architecture. A huge amount of embankments, rivers, canals, bridges. But there's also one more thing for which Saint Petersburg is famous, but what is usually hidden off the eyes when you're just walking, and many tourists actually never saw them. They are coming to the hotel, then just walking and never see this. I'm talking about the internal yards, courtyards of the buildings, which is pretty specific mostly for Saint Petersburg, because only here such specific features of the architecture. Yet from Peter I times, Peter I actually said that all the buildings in terms of the economy of the land in the historical city center must be without spaces. Like the building, one building goes right next to the next building, so-called solid facade. And so that's why there inside the yards, it's like being surrounded with the walls of the buildings. It have like a form of well, and we call it yard well, which is in Russian дворы-колодцы, because really it's like reminds the form of a water well. Now let's just look at this. Today is 11th of February 2020. My name is Sergey Baklykov. I continue my video blog. Mahavaya Street, House 26, but believe me, it could be hundreds of other historical buildings in central districts, Vasilievsky Island or Petrograd side of the city, where you could go inside and see the courtyards. Getting inside through the arch, and let me tell you that actually arches are another feature of Saint Petersburg, which is inseparably related to this courtyards, because as I said, all buildings has a solid facade with no spaces between the buildings, but somehow people have to go through, right? So the solution was arches. Through arches you're going inside of the courtyards and between of another buildings inside of the block. Now you can see how is the typical courtyard looks inside, being surrounded by the walls of the building, and really the form reminds the well, mostly that's quadro, sometimes triangle, sometimes strange forms, but more or less it's like this. I chosen these courtyards because here you will see as the ones which are recently restored, repainted, as the ones which yet are waiting for their cue to be restored and now in a worse shape. So you can see the contrast, and don't tell me I'm a freaking mofo who show only like good stuff. The thing is, in the historical parts of St. Petersburg, here are thousands of buildings, all of them at least 100-120 years old. They restore maybe several hundreds a year, but still takes at least like 10-15 years to restore them all, and then you go over and over again by circle. Having a rainy weather, recently restored facades in 15-20 years will need a general restoration again. You may notice that in Imperial Russia they are actually counted the money too, and sure, most of buildings inside doesn't look as bourgeois as outside from the street side. It actually makes sense. From the street side it just has aesthetical meaning, you go and enjoy, but inside mostly just practical. So let's say here you can see just flat facades, the one which is also recently restored. And old courtyards of St. Petersburg is definitely more complicated and mysterious than old courtyards of Moscow. They are kind of more brutal, cold, and out of saturated daily life, but they are full of the historical contrast. When next to Fancy Square in the courtyard of Consul Grabber Revenue House, where we just been, there can be another more shabby house. The luxury big former bourgeois apartments belonging to nowadays bourgeois neighbor with an old communal apartments full of absolutely different range of society of people, like a middle class and sometimes even alcoholics who are living there already like in a fifth, sixth generation. And significant artworks of even courtyards of some buildings, maybe next to the trash bins staying just behind the corner. The gates to many of these courtyards are closed, but many are open because in many of them now inside the commercial facilities on the first floors, and they keep it open for the customers. When you will walk in Saint Petersburg and you will see the gate is opened, you can easily get inside and check out parts of non-touristy, non-parade Saint Petersburg. It may look depressive sometimes, but at least by day it's definitely pretty safe. You often blame that I'm a piece of mauve shit and show like mostly touristy parts of the city. Well, now I hope I gave you one of the ideas of non-parade St. Petersburg. Those I don't really think I became less douchebag than I was before. Now we actually went through the whole block, through the courtyard of Saint Petersburg, дворы-колодцы, yard well, and from Mukhovaya Street we came to Liteyny Prospect, Liteyny Avenue, and for the last like 4 or 5 minutes you got full imagination about what is a yard well of Saint Petersburg. Well, more or less, but all they are unique, but in the same time, in general, they are all about the same. Well, at least you have all that specific imaginations about what is дворы-колодцы, yard well. Hope you enjoyed. Comment, like, subscribe, and keep supporting my channel with Patreon if you want to see more videos, more frequent videos, and in more distant places of Russia. See you!